Some people call them searches, some people call them queries, and FileMaker calls them finds. It's all the same thing, so don't get confused by the terminology if someone with an Oracle database talks about a query. It's the same thing as a find. To better understand finds, you need to understand the index. The index is what makes finds quick. So let's talk about an analogy. Let's say you have this new FileMaker book and you're researching global fields. And you want to find out everything about global fields, so you want to go into the book to every page and read on it. So you could go through each page and scan each page for the word global, and that's going to take you a long time. Could be 500 pages of the book to go through. A much easier way to do that, much quicker way, is to go to the index of the book. Find global in there, and right next to it will say all of the pages that it's on. Could be page 24, 37 through 41, and so on. Makes it much easier for you then to go find that page and read up on global fields. Well, an index in FileMaker works much the same way. Let's say you had a database full of articles. So you had this one field that had articles, and it could be 1,000 words in every article. If you had the word the in there, which is likely to be inside an article, you're going to think if we had 1,000 records, we could have tens of thousands of thes in there. And if FileMaker had to search the database the same way you search a book by just going through each page, it would be extremely slow. What it does is the same thing as a book index. It takes all the thes, puts them into the index, and puts the record number where it's found, so that you can search a much shorter list, find out which records are referenced or have the word the in them, and then it can go ahead and return that found set to you when you search on it. So let's go into Manage Database and take a look at our indexing. You'll see that over here that the city field is indexed, the first name is indexed, and the last name is indexed already. That's because FileMaker is a friendly database and it automatically turns these indexes on when you do a search. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. And if you go to the Storage tab right here, you'll see that we have indexing right here. And let's read what it says up here. Indexing improves performance for some operations like finds, and supports functionality like relational joins, and field value uniqueness. It also has bearing on some types of value lists and other things, but this gives you a good idea that the index can automatically get turned on when you're using a field in a relationship, which we'll cover in a later tutorial, or you actually do a find, only if this option is checked. If it's not checked, then it can't turn it on. If you click None and uncheck this, what's going to happen is you'll do a find and it'll do an unindexed find. It'll be very slow. So typically when you're starting out with FileMaker, you keep this checked and you keep it to whatever it sets it to. Now there's two types of indexing here. You have minimal and all. This is a text field which has two choices. All other fields do not have this choice. Date fields, number fields, they don't have minimal and all, and we'll see that in a second. So minimal means that this is going to be the minimal index created for a find. And remember how text fields are found. It searches every word inside of that text field individually. If you switch it to all, well, that's a different type of index. That's a value index. The minimal is a word index, like I just described. A value index says treat everything as one value. And that would be used in a relationship or a value list or anywhere else an index is used. And that makes more sense when you think about a date field or a number field. You can't search part of a number field. You can't search part of a date field or a time field. Their values are all one thing. And same with the relationship. When you're using these as key fields, well, it uses that whole value to match something in another table. So text fields have both these options, and FileMaker will turn it on. If you use this name last field in a relationship, it would switch it to all because it would need the word index and the value index. Now also there's an option down here for default language, and you can change your language if you want, but what most people don't know is its Unicode option down here. When you turn that on, it indexes more values, such as when you might use, let's say, for an accented character, or you might want to index the @ sign for an email address and things like that. Typically, you leave it on the language that it chose for you, but you can change it if you want, and I want you to know where it is. So let cancel here, and let's go over to our date field. It's the only date field we have in here. We'll go into options. And notice that minimal is dimmed out. That's because you can't have a word index. Only a text field can have it. You can either have minimal or all. And as soon as we search it, it will make an index for it. Or if you want, you can turn it on yourself. Now it's on. So there are two types of indexes. You don't really need to know much about them, but we're going to go and look a little bit more at them so you can understand them, and that hopefully gives you a better idea on how to do a find. So let's go ahead and click OK. And what we're going to do is switch to our form view and click into the address 1 field, and then go up to the insert from index. When you do this, you get the index. I'll make it a little bit bigger here. And notice that you're seeing right now is a value index. That's because you see the whole address, which is a text field, it's all one value. And as you scroll down, every single address is in here. As soon as we click on Show Individual Words, this is a word index. This is actually how you search a text field. You can see now every individual word is indexed separately. So there are actually 2 indexes possible in FileMaker for a text field. So that's how it's able to search every single word inside that text field. So we're going to cancel out of this, and we're going to go to the date of birth field right down here. We only have one date of birth in here, but we want to take a look at the difference on how this looks. So when you go in here, we actually do have 2 date of births here. I stand corrected. Now you see that we don't have this option down here to change the way the index looks. That's because you can only have a value index in a date field or a number field or a time field. And so it views that whole contents of that field as one value. So the important thing to remember here is that indexes make finds quick. And remember that text fields are different than all other types of fields, and that you can search each word individually.